Hello friends, welcome back to the tetrahedron chemistry classes. So guys, it is my 14th lecture on transition metal organometallic compounds. Okay, I have done 13 lectures so far in which I have covered a major of the organometallic compounds which are important for your CSIR net examinations as well as for the other competitive examinations. Okay, so there are some topics left in this organometallic series. Okay. So today I am going to discuss the metal carbene complexes. So first of all, if I say the metal carbene complex, then you simply know you will have a metal and that metal would be connected by a carbon. Of course, this carbon belongs to your carbene, okay, and then two substituted groups are there on this particular carbon so that the tetravalency of the carbon gets completed, and this metal on the left hand side is linked with the ligates. So whenever you have this kind of situation where you are finding this particular metal double bond carbon, it's simply what metal carbene complex is, right? And this you also know, this carbene complex is also this carbene is what it is actually, methylidene group. So sometimes in the textbook you can also find the methylidene group, methylidene. Okay. So see guys, in the simplest form, what see before going into the details of the metal carbonyl complexes, you should know little about your carbenes. So if I say carbene in its simple form, it is nothing but it is a CH2 group having a lone pair, right? This is your simple methyl, simplest carbene, this CH2 having two lone pairs, okay. And you see this species is neutral, so this is something very important to note, that carbenes are always neutral in nature. Hmm. And as you know, these carbenes actually can be categorized in two ways, and then what are those carbenes, right? So for example, they if you substitute, say for example, if you put some R group instead of the hydrogen, then you may have alkyl substituted carbene, just like that. And you may also substitute both of the hydrogens present on it. So you can also write Cr2, right? So these two hydrogens, if you substitute with the one methyl, it is mono substituted, monoalkyl substituted, and you can also substitute the two hydrogens present on it to get the disubstituted. And remember one thing, these carbenes are always neutral, regardless whether what is the nature of the carbene. You know the carbene is of two types, singlet carbene and the triplet carbene. Okay, later we will discuss the singlet and triplet carbene also. So whether it is singlet or triplet, it would be neutral in nature. And when it is neutral in nature, and first of all, you should one more important thing which you should note, that whenever you are talking about the carbene, right? Whenever you are talking about the carbene, you should know it is unstable. This carbene is unstable. This is unstable, and both kind of instability is there in it. It is thermodynamically unstable, thermodynamically, that means it is not a very good stable species, thermodynamically unstable as well as kinetically unstable, kinetically unstable. So what is the meaning of the kinetically unstable? That means it will react very quickly, okay. And thermodynamic stability, that means it will have a very short life, okay. So you can say the short life in other way also, okay. So see, whatever the lone pair, see what is the meaning of that thermodynamic and kinetically unstable? It means the lone pair which is present on this carbene, okay, that quickly forms bond with the metal, and thus it will actually form these types of the complexes. This is something very important to note, that, okay. Now I'm moving to the types of the carbenes, and along with this carbene, I will also explain the different carbenes which actually are named after the name of their discoverer. So I will discuss both the things simultaneously. So be careful what I am trying to explain here. If you find little difficulty, or say if you find something wrong, then you can comment in the comment section also. Okay, so here what I am doing, I am writing, say, singlet carbene. I am writing singlet carbene, and whenever I am saying the singlet carbene, it means the lone pair which is present on the carbon, it is paired, spin paired. Okay, and then you may have your triplet carbene. Triplet carbene, and whenever I am saying the triplet carbene, it simply means that the lone pair which is present on the carbon, it has the parallel spin with positive sign, that means positive half and the positive half. First of all, you should know this thing. And from here you will note one very important point. Whenever I am discussing the singlet carbene, that means I am discussing the Fischer carbene. Fischer carbene. Okay, that means your Fischer carbene is always a singlet carbene, and whenever I am discussing the triplet carbene, I am discussing the Schrock carbene. Schrock carbene. So Fischer and the Schrock, they are the name of the experts. First, actually, Fischer synthesized these metal carbene complex, and after 10 years of the Fischer, then Schrock synthesized the compound, some other compound, in the form of the triplet carbene. Okay, so you should know a simplest trick also here. You should learn. You can write in that manner: FSCE. Okay, where F stands for the Fischer, S stands for the singlet, C stands for the carbene, and E stands for the electrophilic. That means whatever the carbon is there in the metal carbene complex, if it is a Fischer carbene, that is the singlet carbene, then the carbene carbon would be electrophilic in nature. You should know this thing. Okay, and whenever you are saying that the Schrock carbene, then you can remember in that manner STCN. Okay, that means S stands for the Schrock, and T stands for the triplet, C stands for the carbene, and N stands for the nucleophilic. That means the carbene carbon would be nucleophilic in the Schrock carbene complexes. So however, you should remember only one. If you remember all the features of the Fischer carbene, then the opposite of the Fischer carbene will be true for the Schrock carbene. So you can learn either. Okay, so now we can see the nature of these things. So first point actually which I am giving you here. Say my first point is I am drawing this, say this is my carbon, and this carbon is having empty p orbital, and this is another orbital, and this orbital is having, say, see why this spin paired is there, because it is a singlet carbene, and in this singlet carbene you can see here we always have the paired spin. Okay, that's why I have done this in that manner. Okay, and one very important thing, the lone pair which is present on the singlet carbon is actually present on the sp2 orbital. That means carbon in the carbene is sp2 hybridized, and this is actually your unhybridized pz orbital. Okay, since it is the sp2 hybridized, that means two of the groups would be there. So I am writing in that manner. So I am writing O, and I am writing R here, and I am writing R here. So this is the picture of your singlet carbene or the Fischer carbene, where the lone pair is residing on the one of the sp2 orbital, while other two sp2 orbital are occupied by the two alkyl groups. That means X and Y. Okay, and pz is actually empty in that case. This is something very important which you should know. And if I'm talking about the Fischer Schrock carbene, so the opposite is true for the Schrock carbene. You can write this carbon here, and then you can write this pz, and this is sp2 orbital. Okay, and this in this sp2 orbital you see only one electron is there, here one electron. Okay, and of course the two groups are there, R and R. Okay, and you know this is what your sp2 orbital, and this is your pz orbital. So in the triplet carbene, one electron is present in the sp2 orbital, and another electron is present on the pz orbital, right, of the carbon, right. So it is a triplet carbene. Why? Because it is having the 2 unpaired spin. Okay, so this is something, guys, very very important. And see, purposely I have actually written this O here. Okay, and here in that case 2 alkyl groups are there. So whenever you are having the Fischer carbene, right, whenever you are having the Fischer carbene, so in the Fischer carbene you will always have the heteroatom. You will always have the heteroatom, and that heteroatom is your nitrogen, it could be your oxygen, it could be your sulfur. Okay, and along with this you can have other groups also. Say for example you're having your F. Okay, so it is a quick trick for you. Whenever you have been given a carbene complex and you have to and you have been asked that whether it is a Fischer carbene or the Schrock carbene, so check this. Actually, say I can show you. Check this actually, this heteroatom. If heteroatom is there, like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, fluorine, chlorine, right, if they are there, then definitely it is your Fischer carbene. Okay, if both the groups are the alkyl groups or both the groups are the hydrogens, then it would be your Schrock carbene. This is a little trick which you should know. Okay, guys. And now see the point number 2, which is again a very important point. So I'm writing the point number 2. Since both the electrons are paired in the Fischer carbene or the singlet carbene, so it is diamagnetic in nature. It is diamagnetic. So what is the meaning of the diamagnetic in nature? When you keep this carbene in the magnetic field, it would be weakly repelled. And this Schrock carbene, which is having 2 unpaired electron here, okay, that's why it is paramagnetic in nature. What is the paramagnetic nature? When you keep this carbene in the magnetic field, then it would be weakly attracted by the external magnetic field. This is something very very important. And the third point, which is again very important, since there are no unpaired electron present on the Fischer or the singlet carbene, it is ESR inactive, electron spin resonance, or sometimes it is also known as the EPR, right. So it is inactive. That means if you have the Fischer carbene complex, and you want to run that ESR spectra, then you will not get your ESR spectra because it is ESR inactive. Okay, and this species Schrock carbene is having 2 unpaired electron over there, so it is ESR active. ESR or EPR active. Okay, so I can put the margin between them, right. And then another very important point, which is the point number 4. Okay, see, spin here, total spin is 0. Total spin equals to 0. Why? You see, because you having the distribution of electron just like that, so you know one is plus half and second is minus half. Plus half for this one and minus half for this one, then they will cancel out, 0. Okay, while in that case total spin, in case of the Schrock carbene, your total spin would be what? Plus half, because see, one is going up, plus another half because both are parallel to each other. I have shown you. You see here, this is 1 going clockwise, it is also going clockwise, so these two will add together to give you 1 actually. Okay, so here total spin is 1. This is something very very important. Then you see the spin multiplicity. Number 5 point is the spin multiplicity. So this spin multiplicity we have discussed in detail during my coordination chemistry lecture series. Multiplicity, and the formula for spin multiplicity is 2s plus 1, where s is the total spin quantum number, which is 0 in that case, right, plus 1, and it will give you the value of the 1. Okay, while in that case, in case of the Schrock carbene, you will have the spin multiplicity of 2s plus 1, 2 into 1 plus 1 equals to 3. So the spin multiplicity in case of the Schrock carbene is 3, while in case of the Fischer carbene, which is the singlet one, is actually your the 1. Spin multiplicity is 1. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. Now the nomenclature. Next point is, say, point number 6. I'm writing here point number 6, nomenclature. This is the nomenclature. Okay, so what is the nomenclature? Nomenclature means why the name is actually singlet. For Fischer carbene, I am writing Fischer here. Okay, and then you are having Schrock carbene. Why the name is triplet? What is the meaning of that? See, for this Schrock carbene, say you are having this external magnetic field B0. If you keep this Schrock carbene, I'm writing carbene here. If you keep this Schrock carbene in the magnetic field, it will take 3 orientation. 1, it gets aligned with the external magnetic field. Second orientation, it will oppose the external magnetic field. And third orientation, it will go to the right angles to the external magnetic field. So this is orientation number 1, this is orientation number 2, this is the orientation number 3. 3 different orientations are there. That's why this triplet nomenclature is there. While if you take the singlet carbene, it will take only one kind of the orientation. That's why the name is the singlet carbene for this one. This is a very important and very interesting point. People generally miss this particular point to explain the things. Okay. Now the next point, which is the stability, that is the number 7, stability. Now what is the reason for the stability? See guys, in case of the singlet or the Fischer carbene, you are having this kind of situation, right? Both the spin are paired, while in case of the Schrock carbene, you are having this kind of the situation. So if you little bit recall your Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, then you know whenever you have the orbitals which are having these electron spins in the opposite, see, you can remember one electron was present on the sp2, right? This was the carbon, and another electron was present on the p orbital. Okay, so they are, the exchange energy would be high in that case, so it is the stable one. Okay, due to this electrons residing on the different orbitals, there would be less repulsion between the electron. While in case of the singlet carbene, both electrons are present on the sp2. If you recall, both electrons are present on the sp2. Okay, so electronic repulsion is high in that case. That's why you see this Fischer carbene, okay, which is the singlet carbene, is less stable. It is less stable, while this is more stable. This point is another very interesting, very important point. Okay, then you can go for another point, which is the point number 8. That is the structure. Okay, structure. So see guys, whenever you are having the Fischer or the singlet carbene, it is sp2 hybridized. Okay, and the shape is what? Bent or angular. Bent or angular shape is there. This is something very, very important. And bond angle in that case, bond angle would be somewhere around 102 degrees. 102 degrees. While in case of your Schrock carbene, if you talk about the structure, so it could be your sp2 hybridized, like your angular or bent structure, or it could be linear also. It could be linear also with sp hybridization. However, in the organometallics, you will encounter only with the sp2 kind of the thing. You will not encounter with the linear one, but you should remember. And see, bond angle, if you see here, bond angle So it is not actually perfectly linear and perfectly your angular. It ranges from 125 to 140 degree, this parameter. Okay, this is for actually Schrock or the triplet carbene. So this is something very important. These are the general features of your Fisher of your singlet and the triplet carbene. Now I am going into the details of the Schrock carbene. See, one way of identifying the Fisher and the Schrock carbene, you can say the singlet. If singlet carbene is there, that means it is simply a Fisher one, and if it is a triplet carbene, then it would be a Schrock carbene. And another thing which I have already told you, you always actually look for the heteroatom present on it. Say for example, if you look this atom, if it is the heteroatom, okay, connected with the carbon, then of course it is a Fisher carbene. Alternatively, if you have both the alkyl groups attached to it, like CH3 and CH3, or hydrogen and hydrogen, both are same, then definitely it would be your Schrock carbene. This is one way of differentiating. Now next thing, now I am going in the little specific manner, Schrock and the Fisher carbene. So for you I am again writing here Fisher carbene, which is the singlet one, okay, and here the Schrock carbene, which is the triplet one. Okay, now I'm going little specific. So how we can identify actually, okay. So it is something very important. See, the point number, what actually previously I did, point number 8 I have done actually. Now this is my point number 9, but now I am going more specifically. Okay, see, when carbene carbon is linked with heteroatom like nitrogen, like oxygen, like sulfur or the halogens, okay, then definitely your carbene is what your Fisher carbene, okay. And whenever your carbene carbon is attached with the ligands like hydrogen, ligands like alkyl group, then it would be a Schrock carbene. This is something very important, and this is something very important which you should actually note. Okay, this is one way of actually explaining. So basically, they are the sigma donors. So if you have seen my coordination chemistry lecture, then you obviously know these ligands are sigma donor ligands. Okay, while when these ligands are present, they are actually your heteroatom. They are pi donors. They are pi donors. So it simply means that pi donor ligands stabilize the Fisher carbene complexes, and sigma donor ligands stabilizes the Schrock carbene complexes. This is something very important to note that. Okay. Now the point number 10, other way of identifying. See, whenever in the Fisher carbene complex, so I am writing Fisher carbene complex. FCC here stands for the Fisher carbene complex, right? It is not face centered cubic, but it is Fisher carbene complex. Whenever you have been given the Fisher carbene complex, then your transition metal would be in the lower oxidation state. Low oxidation state, transition metals are there, and all the transition metals which would be there in the Fisher type of the carbene, they are the middle or late transition metals. Middle or the late transition metal. So what is the meaning of the middle and the late transition metal? Say chromium in the center, you may have the chromium, okay, then you know chromium, then you may have the molybdenum, then you may have the tungsten, okay, then you may have the iron also, okay, and after iron you may have the cobalt, you may have the nickel, okay. So these are the middle or the late transition metals. So when these transition metals are present on the complex, then simply you can identify such kind of the complexes as the Fisher carbene complexes. And of course the metal would be in the lower oxidation state, sometimes in the 0, sometimes in the +1, sometimes in the +2. Okay, these are the lower oxidation state which are actually identified in the Fisher carbene complexes. And whenever you are talking about the Schrock carbene complexes, then you will have the early transition metals. You are having the early transition metals. Early transition metal means you may have the tantalum, okay, you may have the titanium, okay, you may have the vanadium complex, if any, okay. So early transition metal, that means the your say atomic number less than 24, below chromium actually. And chromium, and after chromium you are having the Fischer carbene, and lower chromium, that means the atomic number lower than the chromium, they will form the actually the Schrock carbene. This is something very very important, okay. And then you see the my next point, the point number 11, okay, and that point is particularly important, okay. So Fischer carbene, if I am talking about the Fischer carbene, I am writing Fc. They are actually electron deficient, they are electron deficient. And you know the electron deficient species are known as the electrophile, and electrophile you can write it as E positive. So they have the natural tendency of attraction towards the nucleophile. So nucleophile readily attacks on it. Nucleophile readily attacks on Fischer carbene complexes. That means the carbon present on the Fischer carbene complexes, right? And see, because it is the electron deficient, what actually I told you, the carbon which is present here, it is actually the electron deficient. I am writing Ed. So whenever you have the donor, right, the heteroatoms are present, like see oxygen is there, so it will donate the electron towards it, and that's why they stabilize the carbene. That's why the presence of the heteroatom is must in the Fischer carbene, because it is electron deficient, and the donor atoms, especially your pi donor atoms, right, they, or especially the heteroatoms, they actually stabilize this actually your Fischer carbene. Sometimes your phenyl may also be present there. And whenever you are talking about the Schrock carbene, so again I am drawing the margin for this one, okay. And if you're talking about the Schrock carbene, so Schrock carbene is, I'm writing Schrock carbene, that is Sc. Schrock carbene is electron rich. Schrock carbene is electron rich. So when it is electron rich, it simply means it is nucleophilic in nature. When it is nucleophilic in nature, that means it is readily attacked by electrofoil. So you see all the features which I am describing here, they are opposite to each other. So you either you have to remember either the Fischer or the Schrock carbene. But in the examination, right, see these Fischer and the Schrock actually have been recently included in the question bank of your CSIR net, right. So they generally ask the question from the Fischer carbene, not from the Schrock carbene. But if you remember only the one, either of these, then you can actually predict the nature of the other carbene also. So this is something very very important, okay. Now next point, say which is my point number 12. What it says, that point number 12, Fischer carbene, I am writing Fischer carbene, that Fischer carbene always obeys the 18 electron rule. That means if you count the total number of electrons present on the Fischer carbene complex, it would come 18, okay. And your Schrock carbene, I am writing Sc for this one, they do not obey 18 electron rule, okay. You should remember this point. Now the point number 13, which is again a very very important point. In that case, see, in case of the Fischer carbenes, the bond which is present between the metal and the carbon, right, it is relatively weak. It is weak bond. The bond between metal and the carbon, it is a weak bond, okay. And see, if you want to rotate this particular bond, say just like that, if you want to rotate this particular bond, then this rotational barrier is very very low, somewhere around 10 to 15 kilojoule per mole. However, it is not necessary to mug out all these things, okay. And then you are having the Schrock carbene, that is Sc. Then this metal carbon bond is relatively strong bond, okay. And the barrier of rotation, if you want to rotate this, barrier of rotation, it is also quite high. It is somewhere around 60 to 100 kilojoule per mole. This is something very very important which you should know actually. Okay, then my next point, the point number 14, again a very very important point, and this point number 14 is actually the common for both the carbines, right? Whether it is your Schrock carbine or the Fischer carbine, they are the monohepto, right? Fischer carbine is monohepto. Similarly, your Schrock carbine is also monohepto. So what is the meaning of the monohepto? Hapticity would be 1 and it would be a 2 electron donor. 2 electron donor. And similarly your Schrock carbine is also 2 electron donor. Okay, that's why it's form actually 2 center. See, 2 electron donor, or 2 from here and 2 from here actually. So, basically it's, sorry, I made a little mistake, not 2 actually, 4 electron donor. Very sorry, it is 4 electron donor. Okay, hapticity is 1 but it is a 4 electron donor. So that's why the bond formed between the metal and the carbon, it's a 2 center 4 electron bond which is present between the metal and the carbon. Of course certain ligands would be there. Same is true for this one, 2 center 4 electron bond, which is something very very important. Okay, and another very important point, this point is quite special point which you should actually remember. The ligands, these ligands which I have written here actually, Ln in the form of, these ligands must be your pi acceptor. In case of the Fischer carbine, they are the pi acceptors. Whenever you are talking of the pi acceptor ligands, this is carbonyl may present, your NO may present, okay, and say your cyanide may present, and your C2F4 may present, pi acceptor. Okay, while in case of the Schrock carbine, the ligands which are present, they are actually non-pi acceptor. Non-pi acceptor. So what is the meaning of the non-pi acceptor? That means they are actually either your cyclopentadienyl anion, which I am writing as CP, and you may have your alkyl group, okay, and you may also have your NR3. So don't confuse, guys. Don't confuse with this N present here. This N is not present on the carbonyl carbon, but this N would be present along with the metal. Okay, that's why I have written here. This is something very very important. Okay. Now, next point, say, which is my point number 16. Probably this is my last point to differentiate between it. So whenever you are talking about the Fischer carbine, your bond order, okay, bond order of metal and carbon, between metal and carbon, sometimes it is 1, sometimes it is 2. I'll explain this point in my reaction mechanism, right? And when you are having the Schrock carbine, then this metal carbon bond order is 2. So I'm writing bond order, it is 2 here. So these are the features actually which you should know. So in short, if you want to summarize two kinds of the carbine in a little different manner, so you can simply write, these are the ligand present, this is the metal, this is the double bond carbon, and these are the two groups present on it. Okay, similarly you will have the metal here, and then you are having the carbon, and then you are having the two groups X and Y. They may be similar, they may not be similar, Ln. So how you can actually decide? See, whenever you are talking about the Fischer carbine, so these must be the pi acceptors, which I have written here, like CO, NO, CN, etc. Okay, and this metal would be what? In low oxidation state, and they may be your they may be your middle or the late transition metals like tungsten, chromium, molybdenum, platinum also, iron also, these. Okay, and the carbene carbon which is present here, this should be electrophilic. This should be electrophilic. Okay, and these two groups which are present here, they actually must have the pi donor ability. They must have the pi donor ability, and whenever you are talking about the pi donor ability, then they must have the nitrogen, they must have the oxygen, sulfur, or the halogen kinds of the things. So this is how you can actually very easily and very beautifully identify the Fischer carbene. So once you know the Fischer carbene, then it is very easy to identify the Schrock carbene. What you have to do, you have to actually change all the properties attached with it. Say for how, you see here, say I'm writing this one, this should be non-pi acceptor. Non-pi acceptor, there is no problem in that. Whenever I'm saying the non-pi acceptor, like cyclopentadiene anion, they may be your NR3, okay, and this is your R. So this actually point I was explaining in my last slide also. Don't confuse with this nitrogen. It is along with this metal but not present here actually. When this nitrogen is present here, then definitely it would be your Fischer carbene. This is something very very important. And then after that you see this metal would be in the high oxidation state. High oxidation state, and it will have the early transition metals. Early transition metals, and this carbon would be nucleophilic. This carbon would be nucleophilic. Okay, and these two groups, they may be your sigma donors. I'm writing sigma donors, and sigma donors, especially you will find the methyl or the hydrogen all the time in that case. So this is how you can differentiate between the Fischer and the Schrock carbene. I hope you are understanding the things very clearly now. Now I am moving to the special cases. Now I am going into the synthesis part and the application part and the spectral properties of the Fischer and the Schrock carbene, which are very very important for the examination point of view. The length of the lecture must be high in that case, but this is very important for you, for the examinations especially. Okay, so here now I am discussing the synthesis part, all these things of the Fischer carbene. Fischer carbene complexes. Okay, so now I am explaining this one. Say first of all, you see what actually we will need in that case. Most of the time we have the carbonyl precursor here. We are having the metal carbonyls as precursor. That means the starting material would be your metal carbonyl, and after that the second thing which you will need the methylating agent. Methylating agent. So what kind of the methylating agent we can have? I can have the different kind of the methylating agents, like I can have Me2SO4, okay, methyl sulfate actually. Then I may have this CH2N2, again it is a very important methylating agent. Then I can have the Meervin salts, but Meervin salts in the form of the methyl, that is methoxy, Me3O, and combined with this BF4. This is your Meervin salt. See, when you replace this actually methyl with the ethyl, then obviously it would be your Meervin salt, but it is a kind of the Meervin salt. Okay, and then you may have, say, your methyl iodide, because I is the very good leaving group, so you can use this one. And you may also find this species, okay, difficult to name, but you may find this particular species. This is something very, very important. Okay, so now I am going to discuss how actually the people synthesize this. So I'm talking about the Fischer and Masbol. In 1964 they synthesized this one, and after the 10 years in 1975 Schrock actually synthesized the triplet carbene. Okay, so how they synthesize this one, they take or they took actually this carbonyl complex. See, first of all, before synthesizing this, you have to be very, very clear about the basic things. You may have been given complex in that form. Of course, it would be in the lower oxidation state. Whenever the carbonyls are there, all neutral, so it is in zero. So whether you write in this form or you write in this form, CO5, metal connected with the carbon and triple bond. So both are equivalent. And third, you may write in that form also, CO5. See, it can come here. So you can write metal, double bond carbon, double bond oxygen. So you may start reaction with this one, or this one. All are having the same meaning. Okay. And sometimes I actually saw the students have confusion, sir. It is written like that, it is written like that. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of that? Okay. So don't get confused. They all are the same things. Okay. So how we can synthesize this one? So I'm using the next page for this one. How I can synthesize. So I'm taking this example of your Fischer and the Mossball, of which they actually synthesized in 1964. Say this is the carbonyl 5 times, and this is the tungsten, right? It is the member of the your chromium group, and double bond carbon and double bond carbon. Okay, and see guys, this carbon actually is this particular carbon, carbonyl carbon, right? This carbonyl carbon, it is electrophilic in nature. It is electrophilic. Okay, and for your general knowledge, you should know this important point. All terminal COs are electrophilic. That means if your carbonyls are not bridging, they are not forming the bridge, then they are the electrophilic. Okay, and any nucleophile can very easily attack on it. Okay, and if you count the total electron present on it, right, say 2 into 5, since tungsten is the member of the chromium group, so it will contribute 6. There is no problem in that. Okay, and 2 electrons from this carbon. Okay, in total it is 18 electron species. This is something very, very important. It is 18 electron species, and that 18 electron species, say, is reacting with, so say for example I am using alkyl lithium, RLi. You may use the butyl lithium or anything, and since actually this lithium is less electronegative than carbon, so it is positive, and this R is negative, right? So what will happen in the reaction? This negatively charged R will attack on the carbon in that manner. Okay, when this attack on the carbon, this electron pair gets shifted here. So it is quite good to shift the electron pair towards the oxygen rather than towards the tungsten. It is not good actually. However, some people actually flow the electrons in the opposite direction, but personally I don't like this. Okay, and then you are having the species which will result actually. So the species which will result, CO5, there is no problem in that. Tungsten is there. Double bond carbon. Okay, now this carbon gets connected with the R and Li. There is no problem in that. Okay, and you see, oh sorry, what I did, okay, very sorry. I have to remove this Li from here, or in fact, just like that. So this R actually gets connected here, very sorry, okay. And this oxygen, since it is a negatively charged, it will grab the lithium, so you can write OLi here. This is the complex actually. Now you will use the methylating agent. So what kind of the methylating agent you can use? So I am writing methylating agent here. Methylating agent, and you can use either of the methylating agents, right? You can use any one of these. You can use this, you can use this Marvin salts, you can use this anything you can use, okay. So this is in that manner. So when it will form, how the compound will form, this will remain as such, CO5, tungsten is there, that would be the double bond carbon. Since it is a methylating agent, what will happen, this lithium would be replaced by the methyl. So for example, you have used this one, say for example you have used methyl iodide, okay. If you have used this methyl iodide, then definitely you will have the lithium iodide as a byproduct, and OMe would go there, and of course this is R, okay. Now guys, if you focus on this species, see this is your carbene carbon, and it is connected with the, see guys, I am explaining all the things here. This is connected with the heteroatom oxygen, okay. So it is a Fischer type of the carbene, okay. And also tungsten here in this case is in the zero oxidation state, still it is in the zero oxidation state, okay. And it is the late transition middle, and here you can see the pi acceptor ligands are there. These Ln are the pi acceptor ligands, CO is the pi acceptor. So all the characters are satisfying the condition for the formation of the Fischer carbene, and of course this species is also the 18 electron species. So this work was done by the Fischer and the Mossball in 1964, okay. So this is something very important. This is the first method, and then you may have the second method. Say I am changing the color for that second method, point number 2. So what we can do, we can directly use some electrofoil to it, okay. So how we can do that, say for example I am having this CO5 here, along with the tungsten I am using the same complex, double bond carbon, double bond oxygen, okay. And in that case I am using some nucleophile, say I'm writing oxygen here with negative charge, and I am writing I here, because I is the very good leaving group. I am using the I in that case. So what will happen, you know this carbon is electrophilic in nature, so the nucleophile will have the affinity for this, so this oxygen will attack there, there is no problem in that, and this electron will shift here. So what is the species that you will have now? You will have CO5, okay, then tungsten is there, and then you are having the double bond carbon, just like that, okay. Now you see here guys, this carbon double bond oxygen, because the electron pair has shifted, it would be now singly bonded oxygen. So how I can do that, I can simply write oxygen with negative sign, okay. And that you see here, this oxygen is actually connecting with this carbon, so I can simply write oxygen here. And then if you see here, if I can write here, say for example if I am saying that this is the atom number 1, it is the atom number 2, it is the atom number 3, it is the atom number 4, and of course this I is the leaving group, okay. This I would be the leaving group. So how it can attach with this one, so I'm writing CH2 here, and then again I am writing CH2 here, and that CH2 is actually carrying that species I. So this species I can result in that manner, okay. Now what will happen in that case, intramolecular SN reaction would occur. So I am writing intramolecular SN2 attack, intramolecular SN2 attack. So what is the meaning of that? This will attack here and this will be gone as the leaving group. So what you will have? Minus I, okay, and after minus I you will have your product. So I can write product CO 5 times, tungsten is there, this is double bond carbon, okay. And I already told you, if you number it, atom 1, say atom 2, atom 3, atom 4, and this is the atom 5. That means it will result in the 5-membered ring. So you can very easily draw a 5-membered ring here, just like that. And this 5-membered ring, on these ortho positions, ortho-like positions, they are having the oxygen, so you can put 2 oxygen over there in that case, okay. So again you see, you have very beautifully synthesized your uh, Fischer type of the carbene, okay. How Fischer carbene? You see, this carbon is connected with the heteroatom oxygen, okay. So this is how you can prepare this one. Now moving to the next method, how we can prepare. See, we can simply reduce the metal carbonyls by alkali metals. So number 3, so what we have written earlier, number 2, this is number 3. In number 3 I am using this color, reduction of the metal carbonyls with alkali metals. So say you are having the molybdenum here, I am writing molybdenum intentionally. This is carbon, this is double bond oxygen, there is no problem in that, and you are having the carbonyls. So you can write 5 here, okay. 5 carbonyls are there, and you are having your 2 sodium. You know the sodium, they are the reducing agent, they will supply the electron. So 2 sodium I am using, definitely it will supply the 2 electrons, okay. And to whom it will supply the 2 electrons? Of course this carbon, because this carbon is electrophilic in nature. This is something very, very important. And you know, when this will happen, your one of the carbonyl will be knocked out from here. Why? Because carbonyl is the 2 electron donor and you are supplying 2 electron. So in order to make the 18 electron rule intact, you have to remove the one of the carbonyl from there, okay. When you remove one of the carbonyl from here, then you will have this species, carbonyl 5 times, and then you are having your molybdenum, and of course 2 negative would be there because you have supplied 2 electron over there. Of course you can write 2 of Na positive somewhere, okay. So this is something very, very important. Now you can use certain other reagents, right, which can actually methylate the thing. So what reagents you can use? Say you are having this carbon double bond oxygen, okay, and this is the chlorine which is present here. No, I am not taking the chlorine in that case again, because I am pretty much interested in good leaving group. So I am writing Br here, say for example, okay. And then you are having the CH2, another CH2, and another CH2, and then you are having the chlorine, okay. Now you know mesomeric effect is there, so this negative charge actually will attack on this carbonyl carbon, just like that, okay. This is something very, very important which you should know, okay. It cannot, see, if you want to attack this here, if you want to attack on this particular carbon, it is not a very good choice. Why? In that case only minus I effect is there, while in that case mesomeric effect is there, and you know the mesomeric effect is more fundamental. So that's why it is very good to attack here. Or simply you can see this is actually more electrophilic. This carbonyl carbon is more electrophilic than your alkyl carbon. This is something very, very important, okay. And then you are having your intermediate, and that intermediate would look like in that manner, CO5, okay. And then you are having the molybdenum. Out of the two, one electron has been used in the formation of the bond with this carbonyl, and then you are having this CH2, there is no problem in that, another CH2, and then another CH2, and this CH2 was having my Br. I am interested in the Br in that case. Okay, so in that case what will happen actually, see, this will come here, this will go up, okay, and then the intramolecular attack would occur. So you have formed this species, and then you are forming this species, say CO, it is present on the 5 times, molybdenum, now it is double, okay. Why it is double, guys? Because you have shifted the electron from here to here, and it went up actually. That's why. So in that manner, so this will have the oxygen negatively charged, and then you are having the CH2, you are having your CH2, you are having another CH2, and then you are having your Br. This was the situation, okay. And after that you are having intramolecular SN2 attack, intra SN2 attack. So how the intra SN2, so before going into the intra SN2, I can number the things. Say this is atom number 1, this is atom number 2, this is atom number 3, this is atom number 4, and this is atom number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again it will result a 5 membered ring. So how the attack will occur? So this negatively charged oxygen will attack on this carbon number 5, and this Br will be knocked out from here, and once the Br would be knocked out from here, so you will have minus Br negative, okay, and you will have your product which would be CO 5 times molybdenum double bond carbon and a 5 membered ring. Okay, you are having this 5 membered ring, and this 5 membered ring is having oxygen somewhere here. All are intact in that case. So again you see here, it is a Fischer carbene. How it is a Fischer carbene? Because this Fischer carbene, because it is connected with the heteroatom, molybdenum is the middle or the late transition metal. Here pi acceptor ligands are there which can stabilize this metal carbene complex. So these are the some of the important methods. These are the some of the very important methods which actually you should know. This is something very important. So see guys, if you see your a Crabtree book, then you can also find an example. I am not actually, see, since the length of the lecture has increased so much, so I am not covering that example. You can also go for the Chugev's carbene complex. Chugev's carbene complex. However, the mechanism of formation is not given in that Crabtree book, but you can easily work out, okay, how you can draw that. Chugev carbene complex is given there. That is platinum doubly bonded with the nitrogen, okay, hydrogen and the Me, and hydrogen with the Me, okay. So this is your Chugev complex, which it is also a Fischer type of the carbene. See, I have the details of this Chugev's carbene in my notes, okay, but right now I am not going to explain this one because the length actually is quite increased. See why this Chugev carbene formed, because this nitrogen which is present here instead of the oxygen, right, this nitrogen actually, right, this the electron donning ability of this nitrogen is quite high actually when compared to the oxygen, because oxygen is having the smaller size and the high electronegativity, so it is quite reluctant to release its electron. But then this is not true for in case of the nitrogen. That's why the formation of the Chugev type of the carbene complex is very common. Okay, so these are the some of the properties which you should actually know how to actually make these types of the things. So guys, since the length of the video has increased so much, so I am stopping here in this particular lecture, and in the next class, maybe tomorrow, okay, I'll upload the remaining part, the properties of the Fischer carbene and little things about the Schrock carbenes, right, and then some of their important reactions and the Thebes reagents. I'll discuss all these things in my next lecture. I hope you will find helpful this particular lecture, okay. And if you are actually watching video for the first time, kindly subscribe the tetrahedron chemistry classes and go through the playlist which I have summarized especially for the CSIR, NET, GATE and the IIT JAM examinations. I have actually uploaded more than 300 lectures there. Okay, if you check those lectures, you will find definitely useful. And please share this tetrahedron chemistry classes channel with your friends also, guys. Okay, so see, this gives motivation to me to do good actually. See, generally what happens actually, people are watching video all the time, but 80% to 85% people are actually the haven't subscribed my channel, but they are watching. If you are watching, if you are liking, please subscribe the tetrahedron chemistry classes channel. Okay guys, that's it for today. Meet you in the next class with the remaining part of the Fischer and the Schrock carbene. Thank you very much.